Hi everyone. So today I'm going to be moving on to the other themes, the other four themes. And the first theme I like to describe is introverted sensing and introverted feeling. So that describes the istp and the infj. Now, as you may recall from my other videos, I've said that I do a sort of JP switch on the introverted types. The reason being that there is a far better reason for why someone who is SI dom should actually be a P, and someone who's a FI dom should be a J, and that's because the dominant function, right, should be what defines everything else. It shouldn't be what is extroverted in either the first or second position. No, it's mental gymnastics in my opinion, and it's based on this false idea that if you extrovert things, then that's when it actually has an impact on behaviour. No, I don't think that's right at all. I think plenty of introverted elements have an impact on behaviour, and we can pick it out, we can show it. It's based on a misunderstanding of the cognitive functions, which is what I've been trying to correct in this whole series. So no, this is SI and FI describing the ISTP and the INFJ. So, what does this mean, SI and FI? What does that lead to? What does that create? Well, it's about, like the other themes, it's about a certain virtue. And this time the virtue is authenticity. Why authenticity? Well, authenticity is essentially, what do we see in front of us? Is this real? Is this true of the person? And what you'll find is that SI and FI takes an affirming view towards that, which is yes, that is the person. That is the person and all their, their complexities, all their messiness, all their weaknesses and foibles, all that sort of thing. That is the person. The person is messy, and that's the idea. We are a work in progress. And as long as we are open about that, as long as we say, we've made mistakes, we muck things up, but we're trying to do better, nevertheless, we're trying to improve. That is what SI and FI wants. That's what it's looking into. It's very humble in its nature. It accepts humility. It accepts that sort of self-effacing humour you find that's often quite common in sort of British people, because Britain's often very sort of seen as a very delta-ish country. But in other sorts of countries where this idea that you're not out there to be proud and to show off about yourself. No, you muck up like everyone else, and you're just out there trying to do the right thing, and doing the right thing at its own reward. That's the idea for SI and FI. Often these types can feel a lot of guilt if they're not feeling as though they're doing the right thing, and they can often be very dutiful, in a very sort of quiet, very sort of uncomplaining way. Think of, say, the late Queen Elizabeth II, living her life of civic duty, because her father, who was INFJ, so similar, also made that sacrifice when his brother wasn't willing to make that sacrifice for life. That's that kind of idea, right? That sort of quiet fulfilling of duty is a very common thing with SI and FI, because it's about you doing the right. It's not about rules or structures. It's about, is this the right thing to do? Have I been the best person I can be? And how else can I improve? What other sins have I made which I should confess and talk about, so that I can actually move on to being a better person and take that on board and work on that and improve upon myself. Very SI and FI in that sort of way. It makes them very accepting and tolerant of others, right? Yes, there is a judging aspect. They are getting a sense of people's character, very much. But there's more of a sense of a disappointment in people who haven't been the best they can be, who have been neglectful in their character, rather than a sense you are a bad person and that's that. It's not the idea for SI and FI. It's about, I see the good person within, because there's a bit of NE that comes in there, but there's a good person within, and I think you could be working on this, and you could be the better person here. You just have to pay attention to what you're like and what you're doing and how you can be better. Don't be neglectful of that. Don't be careless. There's also care in this sort of type. Care towards things, care towards how they conduct themselves and the results of their actions. But also, from SI and FI, this is also more of the authenticity side. It's they don't forget where they came from, how they grew up, what their experiences were. They like to find out about other people's childhoods as well. Where do people come from? What were the people's experiences growing up? It's this idea that you don't lose touch of your roots. You don't lose touch of the people you have that closeness with. You don't pursue, fame to the point where you lose sense of who you are. It's very much you stick to who you are. You ground yourself in, where you came from and the people around you. And your communication's not about communicating outwards, projecting a brand or an image. It's nothing to do with that. It's very much, it can often come across as a bit cringy outside of the context in which it was said, because the focus is very much the people in front of me, my localized relationships with those people, and being open about myself, being honest about who I am and what I'm about, not even what I'm about, but what am I thinking about now? What is part of my journey in life? What mistakes have I made? How have I improved? It's this sort of idea, which can lead them to being quite easily misconstrued, and people, misinterpreting what they're saying, almost to affect their reputation in a negative way. They're very vulnerable to that, you could say, and they can get quite upset when people then deliberately misunderstand what they are saying, and because they want to be understood. They want people who can take the time to listen, to talk to them, to understand exactly why they're doing things, to understand them for themselves, not for, putting expectations or assumptions onto them. Because that gets in the way of your authenticity. So this is what I'm saying. They are affirming that authenticity in and of the self. Be yourself, accept who you are, but also accept yourself as a work in progress who is an ongoing attempt to become the best person you can be, and working on that and refining that and building up your sense of self in your authenticity. So yeah, that is SI and FI. I hope that helped.